F.E.A.R is one of those games that I know must have had some popularity. Heck, they made a bunch of expansions and sequels, but I've never actually talked to anyone who's played it. Well, dear viewer, that changes today. So sit back, strap in, and watch my terrible gameplay footage. To me, F.E.A.R holds such a special place because it's more than just another shoot-'em-up, Halo-style run-and-gun, but it adds not only interesting gameplay mechanics, but also an intriguing, if somewhat thin, storyline to go with it, as well as a whole lot of creeping, tense, and scary moments. I wouldn't say it's quite as scary as maybe like Dead Space or something along those lines, but playing through is definitely a harrowing experience. The basic plot, spoilers by the way, even though the game is 15 years old, is that at some point in the near future, a military contracting company named Armacham or Armacham, whichever your choice is, Technology Corporation has developed and begun using mind-controlled super soldiers that are also clones that they call replicas. These replicas are controlled by a man named Paxton Fettel, who goes off the rails, starts eating people, and takes over the Armacham headquarters and kills almost everyone inside. That's where you come in. You play the unnamed Point Man on a mission to kill Fettel and end the threat of the replicas with some help from other secret Black Ops and Delta Force style agents who come along and don't actually do anything to help you, but that's what they're supposed to do. Several times throughout the single night that the game takes place, Fettel escapes from your grasp and always seems to be just one step ahead of you, disappearing into the darkened hallways and behind the windowed doors of the upscale office building most of the game happens in. More about Fettel's origins, the dirty dealings Armacham is involved in, and the ugly truth behind much of their research is revealed through voicemails and hidden computer caches spread throughout the game's levels. Along the way, you experience hallucinations, visions, and haunting paranormal events, from the benign flickering light and dancing shadow to the extreme of dissected corpses and piles of bloody bodies at the bottom of an elevator shaft, and worse. After chasing Fettel from rooftop to parking garage and beyond, you eventually kill him, only to learn that the real threat is the mysterious Alma, the apparent result of what the game calls a synchronicity event that went wrong and was covered up by Armacham, and who is heavily implied to be your mother. Alma is about to escape her prison, and you have to detonate an explosion to destroy the facility and get out before it goes off. And that's pretty much it. That is a poor explanation of the plot of F.E.A.R. F.E.A.R manages to do extremely well what so many games try to do and fail at, and that is build tension. From the very first mission of the game, strange occurrences begin to happen that indicate that there may be something more than natural going on. Some might even say supernatural. As you walk through the levels, you'll see tiles fall from the walls, you'll see the lights flicker and change, you'll see visions of ghostly figures, and sometimes you'll bump into a soda can or a trash can or knock some papers off the desk, and it will scare the living daylights out of you. F.E.A.R manages to place these supernatural events and these paranormal occurrences very strategically throughout the levels. It's not just one thing after another, so that way you don't get dull of finding them, but it also intersperses intense combat in the midst of it. And in between both of those, there are long stretches where there's nothing. You're just creeping from place to place in this abandoned office building that feels really tense. It seems kind of off. The building is full of things that look like they should have people in it. There are notes left on the desks. There's even food in microwaves. There's trash in the trash cans. It looks like everyone just up and disappeared from this building, and like they might come back at any moment, and yet they don't. At any point, ever, throughout the entirety of the game, you only see maybe 4 or 5 people actually alive. And like I said, the game intersperses a lot of combat and blank space between these paranormal moments. The way that they do this is really ingenious because you'll have a creepy moment and then nothing. And so your mind keeps filling in all of those gaps of the time where nothing's happening so that you feel like, well, something should happen, right? Something's gotta happen. I'm gonna go crazy, and then you bump into a paint can or knock something off the wall, and it scares you like crazy. The long periods of nothing really help to build the tension between those moments of paranormal and combat. Speaking of combat, I love games that have a gimmick. I love games that have some unique characteristics, some unique mechanics, some unique thing that makes it different from every other game. and F.E.A.R allows you to use slow-mo. They call it heightened reflexes or something like that. Basically, you can slow down time and react more quickly. This is super cool. It's just a really fun way to keep combat interesting, to keep it from being just another run-of-the-mill shooter, and it also allows you to plan out and be more strategic in the way that you approach combat, because now you're not limited by just, well, they can shoot me from here and I can shoot them from there. You can duck around corners or run out and get a couple of shots off in slow-mo before the enemies have time to react. This game also has fun and unique weapons. Speaking of weapons in F.E.A.R, they have a harpoon gun that actually will pin enemies to the wall if you kill them with it. How neat is that? That's just so cool, especially for this time period. Remember, this game came out in 2005. The fact that you can walk up to a body after you've pinned it to the wall and bump into it and it'll swing back and forth is nuts. Or they have a laser gun that just obliterates the body and leaves the skeleton behind. I mean, come on, that's so cool. Or if you're close enough to somebody with the shotgun and you shoot them, or hit them with a grenade for that matter, their whole body will just turn to red mist and there will be chunks left around afterwards that you can kick around and they'll leave spots of blood on the floor. I mean, that is just so cool. F.E.A.R also adds in like martial arts, I guess you could call it. You can do like a jump kick or a slide kick. You can jump and knock someone down like using a bicycle style kick. All of those things are very cool. And frankly, more games should try to do stuff like that. Yeah, it's great to smack a guy with a buddy or rifle, but how much cooler is it to jump and bicycle kick him and break his neck? As far as how useful those things are in actual combat in the game, your mileage may vary. But they are really neat, which is really, isn't that what's more important? One of the things I like most about this game is the way that it drops the lore on you. Now, to be clear, there isn't a ton of lore in the game. It's kind of thin, as I said at the beginning of the video, but it's neat to wander through an office building and see a blinking phone and find a voicemail message, or find a laptop that's open that you can hack into and then get another piece of information. It adds a layer of humanity to the game that makes it feel more real. Sometimes the messages are useful and really full of important or fun or neat information. Other times it's really just, hey, you want to meet up for coffee? Adding those elements into the game makes it feel like you could turn the corner and see someone coming the other way making copies or grabbing a coffee from the break area or something like that. Added to this, you also find things like food left in open microwaves or stuff in the refrigerator, and the vending machines will flicker. If you hit them sometimes, they'll drop soda cans out that clang on the floor. It's all very interesting, and at this point in most games, that kind of interaction with the environment was really not very common. Added to this, all of those things you can actually bump into and kick around and they make noise, which when you're actually creeping through, make the game a lot more scary. You build up this tension in your mind because you're just expecting that next paranormal thing or expecting some invisible to come and punch you in the face, or all of a sudden you bump into a paint can or knock something off of a table and it scares the daylights out of you. Ultimately, F.E.A.R is one of those games that I just really enjoy, and that's what this video is really all about. It's just so fun. From the different types of combat, to the different weapons that you can use, to the cool slow-mo function, and all of the neat melee combat options that maybe aren't that useful, but they're cool. F.E.A.R is one of those games that I always love to go back and play. I might take a few years off in between playthroughs, but it's always a rewarding experience. And if you like this kind of game, definitely go check it out. One of the things I really miss about games from this era, or earlier games in general, is this striving to make something unique. F.E.A.R isn't a revolutionary game per se. It doesn't have the best storyline, it doesn't have the most interesting combat, it doesn't have maybe the coolest weapons that you could ever see or the most varied enemies possible, but it tries to do something unique. It adds in its own spin on the genre that makes the game really fun to play. And I feel like a lot of modern games have either gone so far into making things complicated that they're no longer fun, or they make them so simplistic and easy to win that there's no real point in playing the game at all. That, or they're just an exact carbon copy of every other shooter that's ever come out. Don't get me wrong, I'm down to hop on and play Fortnite for a game or two, or play some Call of Duty, but every game seems to be going that direction, and it's just really disappointing to me. And you know, there's nothing wrong with the Battle Royale genre, like Fortnite or Call of Duty Warzone or whatever, but every game seems to be trying to do that. And I get it, games have to make money in order to continue making content. But do we really need Call of Duty Warzone, Fortnite, PUBG, PUBG, and the million other games that are all 100 versus 100 battle royale style. I mean, how many times can we do this before we're just reinventing the wheel? Games should take pride in being different. Well, anyway, this has been me just sort of fawning over how much I like this game. It doesn't really have a point. There's no real message I'm trying to get across aside from, wasn't this game neat? So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and subscribe and check back for new videos soon. As always, I have just been some guy on the internet sharing my opinion. It's not really worth anything, so I'll see you in the next video.